What is the best way to get rid of visceral fat? Visceral fat is stored in a person's abdominal cavity and is also known as active fat as it influences how hormones function in the body. An excess of visceral fat can, therefore, have potentially dangerous consequences. Because visceral fat is found in the abdominal cavity, it is close to many vital organs such as the pancreas, liver, and intestines. The higher the amount of visceral fat a person stores, the more at risk they are for certain health complications, such as type 2 diabetes and heart disease. Fast facts on visceral fat: excess visceral fat can cause serious health problems. Exercising for a minimum of 30 minutes each day will help to burn visceral fat. Having some body fat is perfectly healthy and normal. How is visceral fat rated? A doctor holding a tape measure to measure visceral fat measuring the waist may help to determine how much visceral fat a person is carrying. Imaging scans, such as computed tomography (CT) or magnetic resonance imaging (MRI) scans are the most accurate way to determine whether someone has visceral fat. However, because conducting these scans is both expensive and time-consuming, a doctor is more likely to diagnose visceral fat by asking a person questions about their diet and lifestyle. The doctor will likely also measure the person's overall body fat to get an idea of what percentage is likely to be visceral fat. According to Harvard Health, 10% of a person's total body fat will be visceral fat. Another useful way to determine how much visceral fat a person is carrying is to measure the size of their waist. A woman whose waist measures 35 inches or more is likely to have excess visceral fat, which might increase her risk of developing some of the health problems linked to visceral fat. The same is true of a man whose waist measures 40 inches or more. If a doctor uses an MRI scan or body fat analyzer as a measure of a person's visceral fat, the result will fall somewhere on a scale between 1 and 59. Visceral fat levels should be under 13 on this scale. Anything above 13 on this scale means that a person will need to think about making immediate changes to their diet and lifestyle. Making these changes will help reduce the person's visceral fat levels to a healthier number. Risks and dangers of carrying visceral fat. Health risks of carrying excess visceral fat include heart attacks, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, raised blood pressure, stroke, breast and colorectal cancer, Alzheimer's disease. High levels of visceral fat can result in increased insulin resistance, which may lead to glucose intolerance and even type 2 diabetes. How to get rid of visceral fat. The dangers of storing excess visceral fat can be extreme and immediate, so it is essential to make diet and lifestyle changes as soon as possible, as losing weight can help a person reduce their levels of visceral fat. Exercise. Older man cycling to try and lose visceral fat alongside strength training. Cardiovascular exercise is recommended to help a person reduce their visceral weight. Exercise is a good way to reduce visceral fat. People should include both cardiovascular exercise, which raises a person's heart rate, and strength training, which improves muscle size, into their routines. Cardio exercise could include running, cycling, swimming. Aerobics. Circuit training. Strength training could include squats, weights, push-ups. Stress can also play a role in storing excess visceral fat. This is because when someone is stressed, their body releases a hormone called cortisol, which increases how much visceral fat a person's body stores. Some doctors recommend that people with high levels of visceral fat try to reduce their stress levels. Relaxation techniques, such as meditation, deep breathing, and other stress management tactics can be beneficial and help a person lose visceral fat more efficiently. Can fat be good for you? Can fat be good for you? Visceral fat is just one of many different types of fat. Learn more about the rest of them here. Read now. Diet. A healthful diet that is low in sugar-laden, fatty foods will also help a person lose weight and shift excess visceral fat. A healthful diet should include lean proteins, fruit and vegetables, complex carbohydrates, such as sweet potatoes, beans, and whole grains. Boiling, steaming, baking, and grilling foods will help to make meals healthier and lower in fat. When to see a doctor. A man with a waistline that measures 40 inches or more or a woman whose waistline measures 35 inches or more is likely to have stores of visceral fat. Men and women who fall into these categories might want to make an appointment with a doctor to have levels of visceral fat measured, discuss potential risks, and get advice on how to make health and lifestyle changes to reduce visceral fat levels. Some doctors may carry out some blood and other tests, or refer individuals to a nutritionist or dietitian. Outlook: visceral fat is fat that we cannot see, so it is not always easy to know whether a person has an excess of it. Because the associated health risks can be severe, it is essential for those who suspect their visceral fat levels are high to seek advice from a health professional. Usually, it is possible to avoid high levels of visceral fat by leading a healthy and active lifestyle. Those who do store dangerous amounts of visceral fat can reduce their levels by making positive changes to their lifestyle, such as eating a nutritious, low-fat diet, increasing the amount of exercise they do, and lowering stress levels.